This is Warriors Anonymous.
Abracadabra. Welcome to Warriors Anonymous for another week. It has been the Magic Ground, and there's been a little bit of magic going on in the Magic Ground and since the Magic Ground as well. My name is Jerry Cronin. Let's bring in the boys. Moneta Sauce is still on HIA, so he'll be out for another week. But we do have the lads. Isaac Saucy, how are you, bro?
Oh yeah, all good. Magic round. They
Doesn't
can
it
do
feel like magic?
anything that they desire.
That's the referees. We've also got Daniel Wharekura. Hey, how are you, bro?
Good, it's whānau. Pretty good, actually. Yeah. Watched a little bit of footy on TV. Didn't get to go to Magic Round, so would love to hear how that went, my bro.
Oh, bro, man, it was awesome, man. Like, I just did the fly in, fly out for the Saturday, because I'm all business. I'm all Warriors, boys. But went along Saturday morning, straight off the plane, straight over to the Lord Alfred Hotel. I'm not sure if you boys have seen the latest video from the Warriors, just talking about that event. They had a bit of footage from the bar and that. And man, it was awesome, man. Rocked up. I'm across the road from the bar, not really knowing. I haven't been to that bar before, so I'm sort of looking for any kind of guidance as to where to go. I look up the top level of this bar, and all I can see is just Warriors jerseys all along there. All these people all kitted out, and I was like, that's where I need to go. So yeah, head up there. Meet Ruin Hammer. Boys from Ruin Hammer. So yeah, had a good chat to them. I'd met Mark before, Hammer, but I hadn't met Ru. So I met him at the event. And then just ran into all sorts of people. Saw Christian Catley was up there. Raz Makiha was there from Warriors Uncut.
The who's who of content creation.
It was great, man. Like they even had there was Hold the Ball was there. The YouTube fella, I've also hit him up as well to come on to the pod at some time because he's good value. And even the Warriors had their social media and content team there, their podcast guys and videographers, people taking photos and all this shit. And that was before old Alpha. Robbo turned up. Cameron George was there. A few of the old boys as well. Tukey. Jason Dr. Deuce.
Dr. D.
and also Kevin Campion.
The champion.
So there was heaps of stuff going on. There was prizes getting given away. Everyone was just having a good old, good yarn and a good laugh. I met a couple of really cool fans there as well of what we're doing. Ran into Bjorn up there. He's a good man, Bjorn. He commented on our first YouTube video ages ago, and I took ages to get back to him, but he loves what we're doing. So shout out to you, Bjorn. He bought me a drink as well. He's a good man.
Oh, even better.
Bro, it was cool, bro. So yeah, got up as well. They got us up to just all chat about what we're doing with our different content we're creating and that. So just got up and yelled out a few words because the old microphones weren't working at that point. So we got up and then we just trundled up Caxton Street from there up to the game, and then in the game itself, I really enjoyed it. I was probably about 9 vodka sodas deep at this point, and so
hydrating.
Had a good view of the game. Yeah, that's right. Drinking responsibly. Had a good view of it, and just enjoyed the whole sort of buzz. Good crowd. It was like 38,000 people there for the Warriors game. Obviously, the result was what it was, but then stuck around for maybe I think the first half of the Dolphins. Opens up. And went a little bit crazy, yelling for old Big Val Meninga. So it was cool. And then just a couple of bars on the way back. Nearly missed my flight coming back. I won't tell the wife that. She was telling me off for nearly missing flights. But it was mean. So 100% would recommend. Fucking the crowds were just massive. But man, I really like Brisbane itself is really cool because I'm used to the Sydney kind of full on pace. And also, I know what it's like in Wellington. I know what it's like in Auckland. And I feel like even Brisbane is, more chilled out than even Auckland. It's like it's kicked back, a bit more relaxed. And I'm like, I like this.
Yeah,
I like
man.
this place.
Yeah.
So it was a good setup. But yeah.
So
100%.
quick question. Quick
Yeah.
question. So there's chat, obviously, Magic Round is contracted through till 2024 in Brizzy, and there's chat about it moving around post that. New Zealand's being touted as an option as well, but based on being there, is it one of these things like if it's not broken, don't fix it?
It's a great fit. It is a really great fit. It's set up beautifully for it. Like I remember in days gone by when they used to have the sevens in Wellington, and I thought that was a good setup because you could kind of go. It was like running a bit of a gauntlet going to and from the stadium. There, you go to the bars and then go to the stadium and then go back through the bars and make your way into town. Whereas for Magic Round, bro, like just everything is just pretty much right there.
Yeah.
You don't have to, taxi anywhere or go anywhere else. So in that sense, it's great. It's a great setup. Awesome stadium, obviously. Great weather as well. Usually, luckily I wasn't there for Sunday when it pissed down. But yeah, all in all, I think it's pretty good. It's strong. If you can find an alternative that's better than it, then all power to you. But yeah, that's kind of I've been really impressed both times that I've been.
Yeah. There's talk of perhaps a second Magic Round in a season as well.
Yeah.
Which would be awesome. Obviously, they talk New Zealand, but I just don't know if we could do it justice for a whole round. But I just wonder whether there's like a day or like a full 3 games in one location day type thing. How good that would be, if the Warriors played whoever, then two other games, so you had 6 teams there, 3 games, one whole day.
Oh yeah, the triple.
That would. Yeah, that'd just be enough, wouldn't it? Imagine having that at the stadium on a Saturday, or Auckland, or.
I mean, even thinking in that sense, both the stadiums in Auckland, like Mount Smart and Eden Park, I would probably rule both of them out because they're not they're quite disconnected in terms of where they are.
Yeah.
This may be a little bit of unconscious bias, but place like Wellington would actually be quite well, ready for an event like that, weather permitting.
Got experience with like the sevens and stuff like that, right? So
it's probably the best stadia to manage that, right? Because you get a good number. What can you get? 35,000 at a push.
Yeah.
You've got hospo all around the edges. You could hospo down the concourse. The only thing you can't control is it could be 250 knot winds. So, or weather could be all bit over the place. But maybe if you did it early in the season, perhaps.
Yeah.
Opening round.
You can plan a pretty picnic, but you can't predict the weather. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, Miss Jackson.
Ford. You were HIA.
Never meant to get offside.
Never meant to drop my hip down. Food for thought. Yeah, definitely need to get the magic round there.
Oh man,
this looks
I'd
fucking
recommend it.
good.
I mean, even thinking, I don't know. This may be again slightly unconscious bias because I can actually see Allianz Stadium from where I live, so I'm like, it's kind of cool to try it there and see what that's like. Save the travel, save me nearly missing the flight again. But yeah, no, it'd be interesting to see how they manage that. And I'd be all for an extra Magic Round. However they want to try and work that. Because I think they're probably going to have to spend, excuse me, quite a bit of time, resurfacing Suncorp.
It's always going to be the challenge. And there was a bit of rain, obviously, on Sunday, which they weren't really. Well, obviously, maybe it was forecast. I'm not sure, but I know the first couple of days was pristine weather.
Yeah, it was funny when the rain was coming down and it was actually was funny to see players actually getting mud on them. It's like, oh wow, this is a bit of a throwback,
Throwback.
to years gone by. So now, lads, a bit of excitement has happened since our game, which was on Saturday. So we're going to start our show tonight with a good short balls, and that is to describe the refereeing in Warriors games as anything. So it's an open category tonight, boys. Let's start with you, Isaac. How would you describe the refereeing in Warriors games?
No, start with Dan. Yeah,
let's go to Buddha.
I'm still stewing. Yeah,
I've got two. They are sporting related, anyway. So the first one is, and no disrespect to those individuals where their parents were coaching them, perhaps, or coaching them in various situations, maybe selecting rep teams as well. But we all know there were a couple of kids that got selected ahead of other talented children just because their mother, father, brother, whatever it may be, were in the mix. And at the same time, and when you were playing in those games, there were always certain situations that just went their way because their parents, just unconsciously selected their own kid. So, bit of nepotism. But look, now I actively don't do that as a parent that coaches, but I can see it. Actually, if anything, I feel sorry for my kids because I probably go the other way.
Yeah, you go one of two ways, right? Like, you overcompensate. Like, I can't do that, so
Yeah. And the other one in cricket I had was just basically goes back to first 15 rugby days. Probably more particular family, the Mataidas as well. Every time we played Newlands Fair Play Cup, Scotty's brother Steve used to be on touch judge on the sideline. The kick was into the corner, into the 5 meters as well. He'd take it back to the 22 as well. Blatant, obvious cheating.
Fair play cup, eh?
He doesn't give a shit.
It's all coming out now, years after.
It didn't mean shit. The years I was there, we never won. But anyway, And even when you got the call, you were like, "Oh, that's rough." It came off my hand. It's like, "Yeah, you guys line out," and they're like, "No, it's not." You're like,
it touched me.
But yeah,
it's all good, like
yeah. Oh, funny.
Those are a couple of beauties right there. Isaac, can you describe the refereeing in Warriors games?
The refereeing in Warriors games, to me, because it's been going on, I know the whole refereeing thing is a big issue, but for me personally, it just feels like it's been going on for decades, literally for decades. I mean, since the dawn of the Warriors' inception. So for me, the refereeing is reminiscent. This is a little bit far-fetched, like a horror movie or something like that, where the unsuspecting hero is just walking along, and then they do something a little bit silly, and they get cursed by some homeless old woman on the side of the street. Like, your team will be cursed for the next 2-3 generations or whatever, and they're just like, fuck you. And then it starts happening, and it keeps happening, and then just when you think at the end of the movie where the good guy is going to come out on top, something happens and they're still cursed. So I feel like that with the Warriors reffing. Just when you think we're starting to get somewhere, they pull us back.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That's nice. I like your boys' interpretation of it too. That's pretty cool. My one's pretty boring and straightforward by comparison. I'm likening the refereeing in Warriors games to the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Explain how.
It's crooked.
That's true.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Oi, oi, oi. What are we going to do? We probably need to talk about the big topic, which this week isn't the game. We'll talk about the game, of course, but hold the Vodafone because, the One New Zealand CEO, was it Jason Paris?
Yeah.
Came out swinging with some absolute fire that I don't know if any of us saw that coming at all. It just kind of...
I saw some frustrations kind of come to a head. Obviously the groundswell's there as well. So it just took someone with, I guess, some, how'd you put it? Got some clout. I mean, I think the NRL probably recognise they need major sponsors and clubs. So, when donors talk back, they have to stand up and obviously take note, defend the integrity of the game. But just different. So the whole lot of fans moaning about it, right? And then also you don't want to draw the actual club itself as well. Anyone within the club as well. So it's probably just saying what everyone's thinking to kind of put it on the table. But I liken it, but slightly different to when Todd Payton last year said the lesser teams don't get the calls on the 50-50s, then there's an unconscious bias. Yep. And he would have got fined. He would have got a big trouble for that. But at least it puts this subject on the table.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Because we were talking about it last week, because the past couple of weeks have not been great, as of the previous 28 years. But Isaac, how did you feel? What was your reaction when you saw, this fiery statement coming out and just taking it to the NRL and the officiating?
I just laughed my ass off. That was it. It was just like someone, with a bit of clout, key stakeholder, obviously, one NZ in the Warriors, just to be able to come out and say something like that. And well, what are the NRL going to do about it? It's just, for me, it puts it all on the table. And this is our hand, so to speak, as Warriors fans and maybe the general public about what's going on with the Warriors. What are the NRL going to do? How are they going to react to this? They're all about the integrity of the game, and obviously the referees. But are they going to take a good hard look at how they're reffing these games, or are they just going to pretend like nothing's happening? Because I can imagine if the reffing doesn't change, I mean, for the Warriors games, and we can argue that they, the bad calls are or aren't going against us. Jason Paris might say something else somewhere down the track, potentially.
Yeah, I like that it has definitely put a spotlight on things. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see exactly what happens this week against the Bulldogs. But
this might be a little controversial, but I don't believe the calls that went, to go against us, all those ones. No, not every decision, not every call goes against us. I mean, that would be blatant, but the ones that, in different weeks or different teams and different games, the same day but a different game, tends to be the right call because it's the wrong call that we get but I don't believe those calls amounted to us not winning games in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
I still think, in particular, maybe except the Melbourne game, but there's other factors that contributed to the fact that we just couldn't sustain a performance. There was the whole bench gone, but maybe in the last two games, I don't think we did play well enough based on the. We played well, but we didn't have enough performance to beat those two teams, Roosters and Panthers as well. So,
yeah, I kind of, from where I was sitting, and I've watched it back as well on TV, but I didn't actually have a major problem with the referee for the Penrith game. Certainly, I thought the refereeing in the lead up the past couple of weeks has been, not great. I'm going to say poor at times. But I think also the thing that really annoys me in these games is I kind of give the referee a bit of leeway because they're out on the field and stuff just happens like that. You see it or you don't. It's happening so quickly. What annoys me is when something happens, a guy will go down or something, and be like, got hit in the face or whatnot, and then they'll stop down for a minute or two, and then they'll replay it, and the bunker just sits on their hands, and it's like, mate, what are you not seeing here? Like, if there's a guy getting hit in the head, where's our penalty for that? So that's what kind of I guess I feel a little bit for old Big Red, the referee from the weekend. Just because I don't really want him to be carrying the can, nor the referees as such. But overall,
Well,
the whole picture is it's kind of not helping our cause.
It's the choppy change stuff from like, okay, so the last Magic round was the crackdown head touching crackdown. So you touch someone's head, you're gone in the bin as well. You touch someone's head, you don't go to the bin anymore. So it's like, well, and I know things evolve, but it's like, well, you completely shift from that, and then you have the whole and I'm not a fan of it's just a simple touch and someone's down waiting to review it, and then there's a penalty. But it's not instant, but surely there's enough in the process they're trying to do to say that is big contact, that is not big contact as well. I was all right with a Dallin one in the face, doesn't necessarily, but then it doesn't correlate to is that the moment he got HIA'd? So that's the thing that SJ would blow up about, because it's like, well, that was cleared, it's contact, but now he's going on off for an HIA. So if that caused an HIA, then why isn't that not a penalty?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's those things that they kind of make up. And then also the biggest thing that gets me is 1 week something is okay, the next week it's not. Yeah. And then one thing, so the shoulder charge, to Pauanua last week, they kind of forgot that shoulder charges existed, and now and the shoulder charge happens again. And look, to be fair, it was a shoulder charge. But it's like, well, but last week he wouldn't have got pinged for it. Now he's getting pinged for it.
And I mean, also, I think this was a bit more incidental as well. Adam kind of went in, but the guy sort of he couldn't quite get to him properly, and also the guy kind of bounced and sort of spun around. If you know what I mean? It wasn't really a follow through, like boom, like the Pauanua's one was last week.
Yeah, that was arms down. Pauanua's one versus Adams, where his arms were kind of up, and his own player had sort of got in the way of him making a tackle. But then by the time the player had arrived to him, his arms were kind of like away. So just kind of
the only thing with
I didn't hit him.
Yeah.
The only thing with Aladdin was he was fired up. So he had the intent, right? Because it was kind of, I think it was around that time after the little bust up as well. And there must have been a bit of verbal going on. So I think that there's never it's never going to go your way if you're looking to put that on. That makes sense. Rather than it kind of being accidental, he was actually seeking him out.
He was seeking it out, yeah. Back to that point about the whole reffing thing, and I think is why as a fan we get frustrated, is one that it has been going on for a long time. Just these calls that it's not about the calls going against us. It's about the calls not being explained as to why it's gone against us.
Yeah.
So the Pauanua one, perfect example. There was no shoulders. By the rule book, that's clearly a shoulder charge, but wasn't looked at. After the game, if the refs had explained why that wasn't a shoulder charge, there might be a certain level of understanding from fans, but we don't get that. And so every week, it just seems something along the way happens to us and we don't get an explanation, like hip drop, blatant hip drop, we don't get the call. Jackson Ford's hip drop technically was a hip drop 10 minutes, but that's fine. That is what it is. But then there's other hip drops that go on throughout the course of the game that there's just nothing being said. Another thing I have noticed as well is defending players running back through our defensive line, causing massive gaps. And then you have, I think it was Taruva. He just managed to split the line untouched. Nobody sees a thing. Refs. And my annoyance with that is when you show the replay, and we've seen it in the past a few weeks ago, the ref has got the ability to go back 5 minutes ago to pull up a penalty because it did it to us. Why aren't we allowed that same sort of? Why don't we have that sort of allowance?
There's only one caveat to the reason they can go back.
It's a stoppage in play.
No, it has to be foul play. It has to be reportable. Has to be something they can put on report.
Okay.
So you could do something, but if it's not a reportable offence, they can't bring it back.
Yeah, right.
Fair enough. But I guess it's all those examples of we just don't know why, as fans, these things keep happening to us, and maybe with a bit of an explanation, it might cool our heads. Yeah. But we never get that satisfaction. There's no satisfaction.
Yeah. The thing that even thinking about the Ed Kossi tackle, great tackle, man. That just honestly set the crowd alight when he did that. Everyone was going
Imagine.
bananas. But watching the tackle and how Crichton, his head, he got hit and then his head jerked forward and sort of hit the back of the shoulder or that kind of area. And all I could think about was last year when Montoya got up, did exactly the same thing to, I think, Kyle Felt or Peter Hiku maybe. He hit him and his head goes forward. And we get penalised for it, and Montoya ends up getting suspended because he, said what he said afterwards. But I couldn't help but think of that. I was like, well, how was that? Why did we get completely ruined for that one time, and then this time, nothing even happens? It's like, well,
yeah. So they've evolved that, and I think how would I put it? You've got to commend them for making that change, because same thing happened when Josh Curran made an amazing shoulder-on-shoulder hit against Melbourne.
Yes.
Reece Walsh's first game, and he gets put into the 10, and we're like, he didn't touch him. But obviously the force meant that the head came forward and the chin hit his shoulder. But it wasn't the first contact, it was like the secondary contact. But those 2 years ago, that's how they were officiating it, and then I've learned, oh no, that's, well, two things. I mean, I don't think you can avoid any concussion issue because that whiplash is just going to happen, but I don't think it's also a foul play. It's obviously a hard tackle. So I credit where credit's due. Like, they made the right call and they've changed that.
Yeah, cool.
Because I don't think you can go those two calls in the last 2 years, which is bullshit.
Yeah. That's good to see. I straightened it out. That's nice. Isaac, what happens next in this saga of the CEO versus the NRL?
Honestly, couldn't tell you, but it'd just be interesting to see what the NRL's next move is. That's what how this is all going to play out. Whether they're going to stand their ground, which is they've got no real choice but to do that, but how they stand their ground, and what potentially what repercussions there could be for Jason Paris, or what they could enforce on him, or where they're going to take it legal action. I hear for the refs union or whatnot. But it'd just be interesting to know. I mean, every Warriors fan will be listening out for it. And I hate to say that maybe some of the lesser teams might be interested in what the refs come up with, the refs union or the NRL come up with in terms of the refereeing standard. Because, Dan's always brought this up as a good point that it seems the lesser teams don't get the rub of the green that the top tier teams get. And, Dan has commented on that heaps of times. So maybe other teams that come out of the woodwork and have their 2 cents worth, about the situation.
That's why it's probably in the NRL's best interest to try and squash any kind of rebellion, I suppose. I guess from what I've seen, but I'll grab your thoughts on this too, bro. From what I've seen, the union, the referees union, and the NRL are just focusing on the C-bomb, the cheating word, and they're going hard at that. They're sort of zeroing in on that particular wording and not really addressing the general, the crux of what was actually being said. If you know what I mean, about the inconsistencies, the constant shit that we have to deal with. But what are your thoughts on how they are going to attack it? I mean, it could be quite an expensive sort of exercise for Jason Paris, but
did he actually use the C word?
Cheating?
Yeah.
You said something like it's cheating of the highest. Or something like that.
Okay. Well, he put it up there. Okay. So I guess that that's a classic defense, because at the end of the day, like, it's like an argument with your wife. You say the wrong word, regardless of who's right or wrong, you're right. Because you said the swear word or you said something, and the focus shifts to the thing that like, damn, I lost the argument, but I had the argument, but it just under pressure. Anyway, so I think they'll focus on that part, because I think we all know they don't get up they don't go to work, do their job to blatantly look to do that.
Yeah.
I think it just comes back to this unconscious bias, and look, I think it's there is a little bit of, use the word racism behind it. There is something around the fact that Warriors and some of the lesser teams aren't part of the establishment, aren't part of the nothing can touch the Broncos really. You think about it, because they are the cash cows. They are they're the beauty boys as well. The Dolphins, you don't touch them because you've got Wayne to answer for as well. And I don't think they're getting 1,000 more calls than us, but Wayne, if you're wrong, Wayne, it's in your mind, it's in the psyche. So they just got those, the dogs, they're having a rough run as well. Once they get back to it, it'll be the Gould factor, So it's all those things. It's just natural unconscious bias. When there's things that kind of play at your mind, it's easier to go under pressure, point, to the favoured side. But I also think they'll just focus on the cheating part. But if anything comes of it, it just brings it up, and I hope to think it makes the referee organisation, the reunion, the referees, just put a little bit more spotlight and provide more insight to what they're doing, and accountable for their decision making. And that's all you can ask for.
That's the big word: accountability, and I think transparency. And I can't help but feel that they have brought a lot of this on themselves. This is not a Jason Paris problem bringing this up. This is the NRL's problem for not getting that part of it right. They're not being transparent. They're not being accountable. So that feeling is just going to grow and fester, and eventually something like this is going to happen. So I think the NRL needs to look at what they're not doing rather than try to justify what they are doing. You know what I mean?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Last season, I haven't heard this season, but in previous seasons, they were dropping referees who had poor games. Yeah, and then so Annesley would review the game. Obviously, the calls they didn't get right as well. If there was a certain threshold of poor decision making between them and the bunker collective, those officials would get stood down. Like, it's a performance environment for them as well. So you shouldn't get selected just week on week, regardless how good, bad, or indifferent you're doing. So that's what I'd love to see that. Like, I mean, it might diminish the quality of the next week officiating, but like, if you've got people who are and they are humans and they're like players, if they're underperforming, making mistakes, they need to go back and work on that. That's right. We all do. Yeah.
With that being said, if more refs get dropped on a regular basis due to poor performance, doesn't that open up the doors to other refs to come in and step into the breach? And then over a period of time, there wouldn't necessarily be a drop in standard for reffing, because they know that if they do fuck up, there's someone ready and waiting in the depth chart to take their spot the next week. Maybe it's not having that fear of being dropped that allows them just to go, oh, well, I fucked up next week. Sorry, Graham. You're all good. Pat, pat, pat. Go do better next week. Because again, me as a Warriors fan, always feels like we get the rough part of the reffing. They go, oh, sorry. We'll do better next week, and they do better next week. But it happens to us far too often, in my eyes. So maybe if there is some depth in the reffing ranks, put them on high alert to be on your best behavior. Not be on your best behavior, but ref to your highest standard, because it is one of the toughest jobs in the game to ref a game of league. But they have to have, if they're expecting standards of the players, they have to have standards themselves.
Yeah. And that's right. Like, I mean, I look at even match review committee and judiciary quite heavily. Like, the inconsistencies among that's often even more baffling, because you just see stuff that just doesn't make sense, and it's not even in game. You're just making decisions after the game. You're reviewing everything thoroughly, and still shit to us as fans. We're like, how the hell, does this make sense in terms of how things are operating? You think back to like the Sua'ali'i late shot on Chance that never got anything. And then within a couple of weeks, guys are getting 2, 3, 4 weeks on the sideline for seemingly lesser offences. But also, I mean, there's a good point there, Isaac, because in terms of the players, there's a certain standard. But I mean, you never you never see the next superstar ref making a debut at 19 years old, do they?
What,
Big
He's
refs
the
on this referee.
fastest ref in the competition. Look
What
at
I-
his speed.
what I'd love to really see is have like an independent reffing critique. So like you get a Bill Harrigan or someone who's a legend of the reffing game
Like an
each
auditor.
week. Each week, and just not connected to the NRL, separate to the NRL, and go, this call was wrong, that call was wrong, that call was wrong, and a voice at that level, and then just keep pushing on them, because I think they don't. Well, they do evolve and change, which is the other frustrating thing. And new rules come in and out as well mid-season, but there's just no ability to provide a perspective outside of the NRL for them to change their behaviour. I mean, obviously, when the greats of the game start moaning and start to get up in arms about decisions, they make some changes. But yeah, I'd just love to have someone independently just kind of pull it apart week by week and see how that goes.
That'd be nice. I don't know if you guys caught the Gordon Tallis chat on the Bloke podcast. He was talking about the time he got sent off in Origin.
Yeah.
He quizzed old Harrigan about it. He's like, "Why did you send me off?" And Harrigan was like, "I didn't send you off for calling me a cheat. I sent you off for saying that Stephen Clark was a better referee than me." I was like, "Oh, that's so good, man. That's classic." Love Gordy. Now, boys, have we adequately covered off the burning issue of the day, week, month?
Last thing I'll say to it is, regardless of how that happens, we need to be better, and we know we need to be 6 to 12 points better.
Yeah.
So, and when we have been better, we've had better calls. Just saying, okay?
Yep. Yep.
So that's why the Warriors in themselves are just looking internally and focusing on their own performance.
Speaking of their own performance, we went into the game on Saturday. A few reinforcements coming back. We had Wade Egan slotting in, the captain, Tohu Harris, and Chance Klukstad as well. So this is what the third game in 11 days. So how did we go, fellas? Isaac, defensively, really good. You concede 18 points to the Panthers. You'd likely take that going into any game.
Look back in the years again, where we've just got curb stomped by the Panthers. We're in the fight, maybe not throwing as many offensive punches, but our defense was good. And look, that last try was just on the back of some tired legs. Again, third game in 11 days. NRL needs to have a look at something like that as well for us. I mean, come on, give us a break. But their defense is good, eh? They just hustle. They got the they've just got that energy, it seems, on defense that we haven't had in seasons gone by. Can't talk that up enough. It's probably the side of the ball where we've got the least of our concerns is on the defensive side of things.
Yeah. I agree with you as well on that scheduling side of things. Like, I guess going into the year, we sort of looked at it and we're like, oh, yes, looks like a pretty decent draw. But this period here in particular has just been punishing and unfairly so, I think. So
it takes the momentum out of just whatever we've built.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't feel like it personally. I feel like we've got more punches to throw. There's the best of us is yet to come, but it just takes that momentum of 4-2, and what are we now? 5-5? Yeah, it's a big swing.
I would say this one thing: the Roosters have also had a similar, just in this little period of time, and they actually play Thursday night this week. We play Friday night, so you've got us down here in terms of pecking order, and you've got the Roosters arguably who, they close to control the game, don't they?
Illuminati.
Ole!
So, and I actually think, they just go to show their performance was pretty lackluster as well. So they're feeling the effects too. They obviously had a close win against the Dragons to start that off. Then they obviously, they beat us in pretty trying conditions, but, they didn't win Super Flash and they were fucking terrible. And I just think I'll talk about them in the wrap, but yeah, so they also have to experience that. But yeah, it's not ideal. But we got more travel. We got to go there and come back, So, yeah.
And you can even look at the Dragons as well. Like they haven't been going as well since the Anzac turnaround as well. So I mean,
they got a whole different kettle of
Yeah,
fucked
they haven't
up
been
shit going
doing
on.
poorly because of that sort of similar situation. They just shit.
yeah. Now, but in terms of other things, other positives, there was I thought there was a lot of nice ball movement around the field, all throughout the game. Even watching it back on the replay, I was like, "There's actually a lot of good stuff here." I know we didn't get many points out of it, but how did you see what we were doing with the ball?
Oh mate, we had some I think 3 clean line breaks. I don't think they had one. Maybe I need to check the stats, but there was a period that we had made some clean line breaks. So just goes to show we have I won't say that creativity. We've got some nice creativity when we look to shift the ball. So that looked really well. The try that Adelaide and Whanua Blake scored was just beautiful, right? Some great ball movement, great shape as well. And we're going to the defensive side, just stay in the game. The ability to grit there as well, but just didn't have any punch at the end. Just we're ground, and I think our game style at the moment is we'll keep ourselves in the game, and and we did that against the Sharks. We kept ourselves in the game. You make mistakes, we'll capitalise. But the teams we've played recently just haven't made mistakes, that's right. And just ground the shit out of us.
Man, what was that bloody? I don't even know what their completion rate was in the end, but
95%.
Warriors topped the completion rate for the season, 82% across the league.
Yeah.
So
if you complete your sets and defend well, then that's doing a lot of your job to start with. But one area, Isaac, that we need to improve on is the fact that when we make these big line breaks, our support play is not there. What do we need to do to get that going?
I actually had a look at that on the NRL website as well. Like our support stats assist stats are well down. People just need to have the energy to be in support, or I don't know. There's players that just naturally find themselves in support position. The likes of your your Harry Grants or your Reece Walshes and whatnot. I think that comes down to the individual to be able to put it on themselves and be, well, I'm that guy. I'm going to find every opportunity to be around the ball when I can. I think CNK's that guy. But yeah, I think maybe in the game on the weekend, just tired legs. I know CNK had a bit of a break. But Warriors could do a little bit more, and it would help their offense if there was just more people running off the ball, support play, because there are times when people poke their nose through and people aren't in the right places at the right time, but you've got to put yourself in those sorts of positions. But yeah, we're well down on the support stats, which is not ideal.
Yeah. Those in the first half, those 2 massive line breaks that we made, it was like, I know on one of them we did have Wade Egan out there running on the treadmill.
made him look slow away. Good Lord.
I thought he was in, man. I was like, yeah. And then he just got mowed. And I was like, oh, shit. But on both of those line breaks, you just think to yourself, we just need one more guy there and we will score. Like, that's as simple as that. And when you're a team that's only put up 6 points in 2 games, that's a contributing factor. What else do you think Buddha is putting into our lack of point scoring potency?
It's a complicated answer, but I think it just starts with the fact that we're just down on senior troops. So we're just pouring so much into our defensive energy as well to keep us in the game. We're working harder. Our outside backs do a lot of work early in the set, so there's just no one. I don't say no one, but you just look across the current team at the moment. There's just no strike ability to score like that as well. I compare it to chalk and cheese in terms of game players and styles and the rest. But you look at like the Bunnies, who I'll declare later in our wrap being the real deal this year. But look, Trell Mitt, he doesn't do a lot of work, right? And then criticised for not doing a lot of work. But when there's opportunity, he is there, man. Like he is in support. He's looming up. He's big, So I think it's just the fact that we are currently with the couple of key players out, we're just pouring so much effort into our defence, and we just don't have enough availability on attack. So, getting a Metcalf back, hopefully at some stage soon, is coming. We might have that little bit of X factor. I actually think, and I saw it floating around the other day as well, as how good would Chanel Harris Tavita be right now. He'd be that sort of effort guy, just got a massive engine, playing six, would just loom up on a shoulder as well. Because I think everyone else is just working too hard early in the set.
Yeah, Dylan Walker's not that kind of 5'8", he's defensive minded. They don't have the right troops in the right places, so it's hard to play that support game. Warriors are, again, another stat, they're topping the tackles for the season across all teams. So they're having to defend a hell of a lot more, which doesn't leave a lot of gas in the tank.
And do you know what happens when you tackle the most? You get injured the most. Mm-hmm. And I reckon, just going back to a couple of weeks ago, you think about the injuries you've had, they have all come in frantic play. Not in structured play. I think we had a double injury in one play when we had Tohu and Jazz trying to chase someone down.
Yep.
It looked like they crashed, whatever they did, but it was a frantic play. Both get injuries, so we need more ball.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Isaac, we got a bit of a problem in terms of creating enough repeat sets and mounting that pressure at the attacking end. And I noticed that there was a couple of key lapses throughout the game where we had problems with SJ had a couple of kicks that were just wonky, like they just didn't work. All in all, actually, I really liked what he was doing. But what's up with the combination between our kicker and our kick chase at the moment? Because there doesn't seem to be that same coordinated kind of approach we had earlier in the season.
Yeah, there's a bit of a disconnect there, between SJ and the outside backs when it comes to that final play tactic. Where I think did he a couple of times kick it on the fourth. But anyway, in terms of the kicks, like where is the chase? And I think everyone has to be on to the fact that SJ's got the ball. It's clearly obvious he's going to kick. There needs to be communication about, where he's sort of pointing the general direction of the play for the chase. But really weird to see. They were just so disconnected that, there's a couple of times where he did put a good kick in. We were just lucky that there was someone there to wrap the ball carry up in the end goal. I think Murata Niokore was one of them. He was just in the right place at the right time because the kick wasn't aimed for him. Don't know where that miscommunication's coming from. Because SJ historically has been a great repeat set, sort of a magician. With time in the Sharks, he was just killing it in terms of the repeat.
Against the Roosters, he got quite a few. I think he just had a slightly off game in those short kicks this weekend.
He got a little bit in two minds, in a couple of them.
One went really long, punted it through. And there was one that I think we were either hard on attack or at least, it just deflated the end of the set as well. But I think maybe you could say, apart from the first game, that was his worst kicking performance. And the fact it wasn't like death knell, it wasn't completely bad. It didn't cost us the game, but it just, I think we'd come used to his higher standards in the last few weeks.
He also wasn't helped by one of those kicks put through was a beauty. And bloody Dallin just missed his assignment defensively. Had Turuva with his back to him and just needed to wrap him up. He missed.
The bro dropped like a bloody lizard and just skimmed out. So I mean,
Snaked out of it. Yeah. Pretty impressive.
Damn him. Now, Isaac, looking at players who did stand out, obviously, Sean was a bright spot for our team. In terms of his effort, like, how did you evaluate that sort of things?
Oh, like the top halfbacks in the game, I think they do the little things well, and a kick chase is one of them. A lot of the best halfbacks will chase down their own kicks and be the first person there, first or second, whether they make the tackle or not. At least they're putting pressure on, and you sense that he's confident in that area of his game now, his defense, which is really surprising after what we've seen from him in the past, where I don't want to say he's been a Cody Nikarima turnstile in terms of defense.
Well, he's not a turnstile anymore. He's got some form. That guy.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway.
You'll get to that later. But yeah, his defense is awesome. His one-on-one tackles, his efficiency rate for one-on-one tackles must be pretty high. At least putting in the initial contact. So yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say with SJ. I mean, I reckon he's just going great this season. And you're right, he had his worst kicking game probably so far. Right up.
You got to say, Shawnee is in the top 5 halfbacks in form in the competition, right?
Yeah, you'd have to say so.
You'd have to say so. And I think he also there's a kind of a want to prove that he is class. And up against the Golden Boy in the weekend, Cleary can't do any wrong. To have it actually, I mean, Cleary got the win, but Cleary's first half was poor, man. The amount of times Marcelo just swat him away, So I think he was. So I think that probably drives Shawnee a bit. It's like, well, hey, don't forget about the old Koro, they used to call him. Yeah. Still there.
He's added a few other strings to his bow as well. He's got this low, long-range kick that just sort of skims across the ground. It just buys the team a little bit of time.
Yep.
You love seeing that sort of stuff, that he's not too old to learn new tricks.
Yeah.
Because that one's a new one this year. Yeah.
Yep. The like 20 meter out and more in the wetter conditions, that banana-y.
Yeah.
He said that nicely as well. But just on that kick chase as well, I know people go, oh, where's the kick chase? Like pressure, get up, put a lot of defensive pressure. But sometimes it can expend a lot of energy racing up that hard, where you could just come up in a nice staggered line. And I think it's more important to get a dominant tackle first up and have your line set so that you can get the next tackle. Because I think the classic rule is you can win the first 3 tackles of the set, or at least the first 2 tackles of the set, you go a long way to keeping them where they are, if that makes sense. And that's the big battle, right? Is to make sure that you pin them as well. So I think that's part of what they're trying to do is and maybe Warriors teams in the past had periods of time where they'd expend a lot of energy in the wrong areas of the game. And I know you need to have line speed as well, and I've seen kick chase pressure as well, but sometimes, you don't want to gash yourself. You need to be fresh for the end.
Energy saver mode. That's exactly why I was pretty quiet on the posting stuff up at Magic Ground, because the old Samsung was struggling, bro. It was.
I thought you meant the social battery after being 9 or 10 vodkas deep.
Oh, that was fine. I would have been posting all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I was at the Warriors fan event, and where they were doing the whole prize giving stuff, and the legends and that all talking and doing their thing. Right behind them by the wall was my phone, like plugged into its charger, and it's like an old phone now. So when you get old phones and you got to like try and just maneuver it,
just jimmy it a little bit.
Yeah,
pick the lock.
Yeah. So I was like looking at this thing, going, "Oh man!" And even from charging it in there, it was still like just ripping through it. So I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to keep quiet here." But well, that's all good. Now, Daniel, next to Sean in the halves, we've been playing Dylan Walker at 6. What are your thoughts there on his performance and prospects?
Yeah, look, I mean, he's obviously filled a gap. He's just solid. Like, Dills is fantastic player, right? Like he's just been Mr. Fix-It for us all season so far, and really shored up that defensive area, which I think was highlighted when Volkman started against the Sharks, and they just had a field day with him early on. So filled the gap for Tamaiti. Missed a guy like Tamaiti, especially you talk about support play and kick chase and that sort of thing. But yeah, and what he brings. But yeah, I think the only challenge at the moment is we're just missing his middle performance. That 14 role comes in just to give that extra bit of boost and energy as well. So yeah, you need to have him out there, but it's and we don't have a lot of options at 6 at the moment. But as soon as we can get another option, we'd just love to have him back in there in that 14 role and to play the last 60 minutes of the game, perhaps. So yeah, that's the only thing I'd say.
Isaac, I've got a 2-part question for you in regards to the dummy half position. First, well, maybe answer whatever order you want, but firstly, starting Freddie Lussick for the first 20 minutes and then bringing on Wade, the chef, the Prestige, at about the 20-minute mark. How did you see that going? And also, how much of a fine do you think Wade will get at the end of year session for that massive hospital pass to poor old Dylan Walker?
Fairly big fine. I don't think D Buns wasn't really impressed. Yeah, I get what they were going for with the Lussick thing starting up front. I mean, Penrith have got a pretty imposing forward pack, so maybe trying to shore up the defense with Freddie, who's pretty solid. I don't think Wading's too far behind, but Freddie's kind of got that nose for a hard defense. He's in and around the ball and doesn't shirk away from it. But I'm not really a fan of it. I think, play your best players. I know what they were trying to do. Wade's got that history of head knocks, and he did take a bit of a knock in the weekend, I think, as well, which you don't like to see. But you got to score more points than the team, and Wade's that guy to do it, so he needs more time on the field. I don't know. I really like Freddie Lussick. I really do. But I feel like a bench spot for someone else to take that 9 role.
Well, do you know what, though? Do you know what? I think Freddie's played so well that he's earned himself to make that change in the current situation when when we've obviously got 22 first choice players. So I know disrespect to kind of who's not there or who didn't start because they're fully fit, but and he pushed. Sirius had a poor couple of weeks as well defensively. And look, maybe it is just
5 missed tackles in a row.
Oh mate, 2 missed tackles and one tackle.
Yeah, chasing the chicken.
Statistician's nightmare. Yeah. That should be impossible.
But I think Freddie, mate, I really like the move. Given the troops what was going on as well, because I don't think coming in late in the game is kind of the best.
That's
and if it was to conserve Egan to give him some energy as well, and also let's be honest, you just got to get him through a game. He just needs to play 4 weeks without touching his noggin as well. So if that goes one way to just help him a little bit, so because he's 1 knock away, man, from I reckon. Well, I don't think there's an official rule, but it'd be 1 knock away, 1 or 2 knocks away from a lengthy sideline.
Yeah, he's a warrior. Every time you see him get up a little bit groggy, fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
Is this the one where he's going to be away for quite a long period of time? So it is getting to that stage now with him, eh?
And hats off to Freddie. Man, he's playing really well, and he's making the selectors, make that decision as well. So that's awesome. That's all you can do, eh?
Also, hats off to Tohu Harris as well, coming back. Everyone was like, is he going to be right to play? And man, he went out there and just bloody did his thing. It was like, ain't no worries, bro. Just go out there and casually just carve it up. But any more standouts before we move on to the next topics of discussion?
I'm just going to highlight Fanua Blake. I think he's in career best form and big minutes as well. So, I say career best form, just he's picked up his game from the start of the season with a few troops down, And they're going back to the Roosters game, man. He played like 70 minutes. He was huge, and obviously this weekend as well. So, just got to keep him not necessarily too angry.
Yeah,
The silly things, but hey.
yeah, he's a pretty smart player as well. I really like that about him. Unfortunately, New South Wales Cup side lost on the weekend to the Bears, 12 points to 30. That was at the New South Wales Cup Magic Round. I'm sure that was a success. But now we're currently sitting on third spot on the table. So yeah, still around the upper echelon there, which is good. And next week we're going to be playing against the Bulldogs over at Belmore. Oof, old school. And that'll be on the Saturday after the first grade game on the Friday. So be interesting to see how they get on. Now, Isaac, you've got a very if this was a wallet, it looks pretty healthy. This is the expense account for this week, and we have got a wealth of riches here.
Yeah, if this was a wallet, there'd be dollar bills everywhere. Cash rules everything around me. Thank you, Greg Spence, for the expense account. Ka-ching. Let's start from the top. Bad stuff first. Last weekend's loss continues the club's historically poor record in round 10 fixtures. They've now lost 19 round 10 fixtures, the most out of any round. So, historically not brilliant.
Round 10 Blues.
Yeah. In other news, with his successful conversion versus the Panthers, Sean Johnson kicked clear of Jamie Soward into 32nd place in the all-time point scoring charts. He needs another 50 points to surpass Day Harmo All-Star Matthew Ridge into second place amongst all Kiwis.
Matthew Ridge.
Despite the Warriors having a 5-game winning streak over the Bulldogs, they've only won 2 of their last 8 games that have been played at Accor Stadium. The Warriors' right edge has conceded 47% of all tries scored against them this season, whereas the Bulldogs' left edge has contributed 48% of all their tries scored this season. So
Their best versus our worst on that side.
Yeah, pretty much. Is that that's Everillo's side, eh? Is it? No. Bulldogs' left edge.
He's on the
Averillo.
No, that's Alamotti and...
Averillo.
I think Averillo and Kires are right side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that would be Alamotti and...
Jason Imrez.
Still trying to put it together. I mean, it doesn't sound good, though, for us. Yeah, it doesn't sound good. The Bulldogs are tied number 1 in the competition for tries conceded in the middle third of the field, which would be great for AFB, who has scored 4 tries in his last 9 games, after scoring just once in his 34 games prior.
Ding dong, straight through the front door.
Maybe he's up for a hat-trick. AFB,
Yes.
Aladdin, the
Yes.
little Blake hat-trick. That would be brilliant.
Oh, 3 wishes.
You get 3 wishes. I want 3 tries. You got it.
Sure.
You ain't never had a prop like me. And that's the expense account.
Oh, well done. Thank you, Greg Spence, for that. That was beauty. Now another beauty, Magic Round, Abracadabra. Buddha, give us a look around the NRL with a delicious, nutritious, and tasty NRL wrap.
And the Magic Round, rap. So it was, a festival league, no game on Thursday to give the extra game Sunday as well. So, probably started the weekend with one of its dour fixtures in terms of you look at the matchups, but the Raiders roll on. They got over
doing well.
They are just 4 in a row. Big Red. I watched Big Red closely actually because he's in my fantasy team and got the dub. Got the dub in draft this week.
Oh, you did too. You sly dog. Yeah.
But Big Red looked good. They actually got a menacing forward pack, the Raiders. It was a close run affair. Dogs showed plenty of grit. They're just a gritty team. and obviously Josh Reynolds. Love him, I hate him, the grub. I love him, to be fair. And
Yeah. Got a soft
everyone loves a
spot for
grubster.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
Alfie.
yeah. So it was, I guess, in terms of Magic Round kickoff, it was a close fought win for the Raiders.
I was also joking about Jack White, and I was like, what does he do if the Raiders go on a run and win the premiership?
Sorry, guys.
Champ.
Oh, I didn't sign that, did I?
Yep. And then obviously they got the Golden Boys out there, the Broncos. A big Friday night fixture, which would have been pretty massive in terms of crowd impact. But I said last week, do not believe the hype in the Eagles because they are shit as well. So
He ain't buying it.
ain't buying it. It was a pretty scrappy affair at the start, eh? There was ball flying left, right, and centre. But yeah, the Broncos is too strong, eh?
Have any of you guys seen the video of Payne Haas playing in college and high school? The video circulating around that, where he's just bulldozing kids.
Does he look like a Lomu? Does he look like
Basically,
Lomu
he just
playing?
looks the same as he does now, just playing against 5'6" kids
Yeah.
and just ruining the mate. It's not fair. I mean, he's amazing. The guy's a freak.
Did he reach his, full maturity at age 14 or something?
Yeah, pretty much.
And everyone
Carl
else is
Young
like,
or something had a mustache when he was 12 or something.
but still the high voice, eh? That kid's not underage. Yes, I am. Oh, okay.
Mommy!
Oh, yeah. Obviously, we played, and then my Sharkies.
Ooh.
Nico went missing. They're saying Nico went missing in the big stage. Doesn't bode well for Orajan selection coming up. But yeah, they got their pants pulled down by the Finns, really, didn't they?
Oh,
Early on,
Yeah.
early doors.
Yeah, it wasn't even. Yeah, there was no closeness about that. That was just a carve up.
Yeah, and as a Warriors team, I think the Warriors will recognise the Finns are like, hey, look, they are also down on key players as well, and they just find a way to get the job done as well. What most Warriors fans would really, really fuck them off is the turnstile. Cody Nikodima is actually having a great game, a great little spell at the moment.
Yeah, he looked good, man.
Yeah, he's in a bit of vein of form, eh, the past few weeks. He's
Yeah.
playmaking.
It's funny what happens when you play for Wayne Bennett, eh?
Yeah.
Players become good. What?
Yeah, even old mate was playing all right, eh? Ex-Bronco
Milford?
Milf?
the MILF. Yep. Yeah, it looks pretty good, eh? There's some couple of nice tries in there. But obviously the unveiling of the one and only Vel Meninga, Valence to Fuddet, not to Fare, to Fuddet. He is a big man.
Yeah, bro.
A big
Fuddy,
kid.
He is into Fuddy, man. Holy moly.
Yeah. He's looks like Mario from Super Mario Brothers, but
He's
ate
Greg,
the big mushroom.
he's like Greg Eastwood Jr. to me. I loved Greg Eastwood back in the day too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a player, man.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah. Just thick, in terms of bulk.
Yes.
He was my Nathan Astle in the bloody Kiwis team, bro. I'm like, yeah, I'd pick him first.
Love him. And as I just mentioned before, I now declare that the Bunnies
Ooh.
are the premiership favourites.
Whoa.
They are on another planet, I reckon. Not a planet, they're now in the upper echelon. They're a strong looking team right across the board. Barring any injuries, obviously, but menacing 4-pack. No matter, we say this every week, you know what they're going to throw at you in terms of shape and second man plays, and you can't do anything about it. And Trelmet's on fire as well. So
I had to add something that would just add to the vibe.
Is that for the Bunnies?
For that big call, that was a big call. So
For the Bunnies.
yeah, yeah. I think they look pretty good, boys. How did we see that game? Because it was billed as the match of the round.
I can actually see it.
Melbourne just didn't really throw any shots, eh? I don't know. They're not the Melbourne of old.
No.
to me. They've lost a bit of shape. And Cameron Munster is trying to do too much, I feel like, instead of just sort of popping up where you least expect, like a jack in the box. He's trying to do too much. They don't seem right to me, the Storm. But
Good.
Rabbitohs are on another level at the moment. They're on a tear.
They're on a tear. That's right. That's right. A game I wasn't really going to watch, and I didn't watch. But the Tigers get the dub over in hapless Dragons. The Dragoons.
Is that back to back?
It is back to back.
It is. I did it because my workmate for the second week straight has come into work wearing the orange, the Indigenous round jersey, orange West Tigers scarf, orange beanie, like everything, all orange. I'm like, yes, good on you, bro. I like that.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, both teams, and we a great result actually. The Cows get the dub over the Roosters, and both teams would probably feel a bit gutted because I think it was just rained in that game only, so it was like a piss down, and then it was fine for the rest of the other 7 games as well. But I just got to declare this: anyone watch this game?
The Cowboys.
The Roos one.
Yeah.
I saw.
The Roosters' attack is shit. And considering they have the use of the salary sombrero and they've got star-studded players across that back line, they're shit, man. Like, they just can't put a play together. Can't for any shape. There's just, I don't know, there's just no... Even backs, forwards, it's all so individualistic, you know.
Yeah.
Joey trying to do everything, Teddy's trying to do everything, you know. Brandon Smith, they're just not linking. So, actually, if I was them, I'd drop Cleary and I'd bring back Sammy Walker. At least Sammy Walker's got something about him. They're just pedestrian.
Yeah.
You know, I know they beat us, but, you know, they still didn't attack that well against us, did they?
No, not really. Opportunistic at times.
But don't trouble yourself too much about them.
Yeah.
I won't. I won't. Don't worry
We'll
about
leave
that.
that
Stay
to
that
producer
way.
Matt. He's got enough worries.
Yeah. And I just want to say, in that game, to be fair, you know, Cows were shit, but Valentine Holmes, man, like he took every second carry of every set I watched that game, and man, he was 70 minutes in, he was, you know, chewing 10, 12, 15 meters up the middle. He was awesome, man. So hats off to them, and you know, just goes to show that the bottom teams are coming up again, and you know, everyone's beating each other. So what a competition! And the game
Is the Magic Man, the guy who is like the Mr. Magic Round, Murray Taulangi. Every time he just does something crazy, like
Magic Murray. Yeah.
XXL.
My pony.
He pulled out another beauty. It was like, oh, that was rugby league, by the way, people. Keep playing.
Magic Murray. XXL.
Magic Mode,
Magic round.
Talangi. Awesome. And the last game, I caught the first 20 minutes, and Foran was winding back the clock, mate. He looked like he was a 23-year-old out there scoring. He's got a double early on. He looked sharp as, and the Titans looked sharp. But I went to bed knowing they're either going to lose the Titans because they're dominating, or it'll be very close. And yeah, the Eels obviously came back, but I didn't see how that kind of finished. But obviously, the Titans get the chocolates. And although Mitch Moses had this real sickening head blow, shoulder to head. So for you fantasy players out there, including me,
Hi now.
I'll have to take him out as well. But that's it. That's your Magic Round wrap.
That's very nice.
The wrap.
I was going to
Delicious.
say, has Foran been on the horse placenta trail this week?
Yeah.
Oh, they did say he had about
Right in the
seven injuries. He had some foot thing that he got a needle for, and I feel like they just strapped that guy up and just put him out there. Tough bugger, man.
The $6 million man. We will rebuild him.
I actually uncovered a little bit of corruption at Magic Round as well, fellas. I'm going to give you this. I have to give you it off the record to keep our witness his identity safe.
How
We'll
far
call
down the
him-
rabbit hole are we going?
We'll call him Maz Rakiha.
Maz Khalifa. Okay.
Anyways, he came out with a startling claim because during the breaks between games and that, DJ comes out and they start playing music and they're like pumping up the crowd and doing the whole one headphone thing and like yeah. Anyways, Maz, the secret witness, turns to me and says, "Bro, the DJ is not playing live." Because he's got experience as a DJ, and he's like, I can tell that ain't live. I was like, ooh, corruption at the highest levels. Anyway,
Somebody
so
alert the Pentagon.
just break that exclusive for you right there. Now, fellas, quickly, we've got a few minutes. Yeah, a few minutes to go. We've got a game against the Bulldogs coming Friday night. Let's go around the board. Daniel, injury report. Who's coming back for us?
No one. No. Well, I doubt anyone is. So latest is so there's obviously they list round 11 for players. So Metcalf's still listed as round 11, but hard pressed to see him get a go. He's been out for a while, but maybe not. Mitch Barnett, he's I think moved to indefinite now, but they've got the specialist session this week. So yeah, we obviously know that could be a pretty big call there, with his career is still there for him as well. So unlikely to see him out there. But apart from that, I think everyone else is still weeks away by the looks of it. So I don't think we'd have anyone back. But obviously we're going to have to find cover for Kossi.
The kneecap, wasn't it?
Yeah, broken kneecap. So I'd hope it's not shattered into a million bits like Pappy's, because that's going to be a long-termer. So yeah, we're going to have to find a midfielder this week.
And he gassed it out too. Bloody playing on far up. What a fucking legend. I was like, Ed, you're fast becoming one of my faves out there, mate. Isaac, in terms of, do we look to make changes? Obviously, with that centre, the wing spot opening up means we may possibly bump Marcello to the wing. Who do we look to bring in at centre? Because saw a guy named Rocco Berry scoring a couple of tries on the weekend in the reserve grade.
Yeah, looked pretty class, and he saved the try as well. I think over the goal line, chased the guy down, and smacked the ball out of his hands. I always liked Rocco Berry. He had a pretty tough run last year where he just couldn't find any form. It's now the time to give him another crack. I mean, I'd be happy to. I mean, it's the Bulldogs. I mean, I'm not trying to shit on the Bulldogs, but if you want to play yourself into, bring someone in to play them into some form, I was thinking Rocco Berry. Maybe it is a good time to bring in Metcalf. I know he's projected to come in this week, but do you just pop him straight in there and then put D-Buns back to the bench? Solves a few problems there. But yeah, Rocco Berry, I would like to try and give him another go at centre. Vilia apparently had a bit of a rough one, I think, in the weekend as well.
Yeah, his defensive efforts didn't look too great. But I like that idea of finding someone to go into the sixth role and then putting Walker back as our, bringing back the impact from him, from the bench. But key areas of focus for us, Buddha?
So I think we know defensively, we're pretty resilient. So I think and that's week on week, we're just going to keep bringing that. But yeah, I think we're going to have to look at that creativity, that creative spark, and how we do that, and how we, with confidence, perhaps, is not maybe load up so much around our defensive energy. I know that sounds really bad, but we just haven't been able to fire any shots as well. So really want to see how they can exploit the Bulldogs. the talk about going down the middle is where we'll get some action, and we've actually been really good down the middle with the likes of Tohu and Dylan Walker as well. So we just got to get back to putting ourselves in the mix, make sure we can come home strong in the last 20 minutes. So if we can do that, I think we'll get the chocolates. But I think we all know this is a must-win.
100%.
Yeah, Isaac, we get the bye following this game. So are we just going to go out there and just go all out?
Yeah, if we've got the bye, might as well. We don't want to be 5-6 going into the bye though. As well, we want to be going into the bye with a bit of momentum. So this is it's definitely must-win territory off the back of 3 pretty rough games and that space of time. And I think the fans will be geeing them on. But yeah, it would be good to get the win before the bye. 100%.
That's right. Bye week, aka Bali week for the Newcastle Knights.
Bali week. All right. Ooh, what do you reckon about that?
Yeah. What should we do? Should we work on our game? We'll go to Bali. Yeah, Bali. Okay. Yeah, cool. All right. Anything else you fellas want to raise before we jump out of here?
Trip to Bali in the bye.
Just hope for some good news on the injury front, and the big thing really is Barnett. Just to be nice to know for him personally, obviously, and for the team that he can return to playing top grade football. So I think for me that's a big call, because if that for him personally doesn't go to plan, and he has to, worst case scenario, medically retire or out for the season, then we've got to do some business right, because we are short a senior proper.
Positive thoughts, good vibes. All right, guys. This has been Warriors Anonymous. My name is Jared Cronin on behalf of Saucy, Buddha, and Monitor Sauce, who is he'll be back at some stage. Just like to say thanks for joining us. Catch us on Facebook, Insta, Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Nearly forgot that one. We're around the place. So however you wanna, consume our content, feel free to do so. Daniel Scott. Oh, I thought you were about to say something.
Yeah, I thought too.
He was just consuming the ghost drink.
Ghost drink.
Still looking for a sponsor.
Oh, yes.
Tony. Hey, drop the Hurricanes. They lost in Fiji, so you should pick up the Warriors Anonymous podcast. Great game, actually. Well, poor game, but great for rugby, actually.
I'm loving watching those games over in the islands. They're cool.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome.
Have you seen that article about Wayne Smith getting so bored of rugby now, he just turned off the game halfway through?
Yeah. Watch a wildlife documentary.
Yeah. Lions or something like that.
Mate, you should get him onto the wires, mate. Get him onto the wires.
Get him back. He was a consultant there for a while, I remember.
There you go.
Anyways, let's jump on out of here. We'll catch you next week. Best of luck to the boys against the Bulldogs. Go the Warriors! And also our sponsors, because we love our sponsors. People's Champ. Love it.